Hello, I'm Mr. Gigabytes, and this is the Gigsplain podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the podcast. As this is episode 1, it might be useful to talk about exactly what this podcast is going to be about, what we're planning to do with it, what we're not going to do with it, and talk about the future, what episodes we have planned. And with me is my co-host and daughter, Serenity.
Hello, everyone.
She'll be kind of helping out and providing some other viewpoints and commentary and another perspective as we go through the episodes in the podcast. So let's go ahead and get into it. You know me as the guy who does YouTube videos on this channel, and before I did YouTube videos, I owned Gigabytes computer store and ran that for 6 years, where we built custom computers. We did Linux computers, we did Windows computers, we did tech support and IT, all kinds of things. I've had a little bit of college, but I've largely taught myself how to do everything that I know how to do, including networking and all the things that you see in the videos. I currently own Gigabytes Technology, who is the main supporter of the channel, I guess you could say. And I also own Gigabooks Press, which is another sponsor of the channel. I have a couple of books that I've written that are available over at Gigabooks Press. And I am currently in the process, although I haven't made much progress on it this year, of writing a novel. Well, I'll talk about more about that later, but as far as this podcast is concerned, what this is going to be about, it's, as it is Gigabytes Technology, it's going to largely be about technology. It's going to be about the some of the things that we're doing here at Gigabytes in the shop, in the studio. Some of the things that, are technology based, but we're also going to get into other things. We're going to talk about gaming. We're going to talk about maybe some life hacks, maybe some other topics that I listen to other podcasts, and clearly there is a void in the podcast area of things that people just are not covering, topics that there's plenty of things where people are talking about politics, they're talking about things that are wrong in the world and the problems that we're having, and there's more than plenty murder podcasts, I think. We're definitely not talking about that. I'm not interested in that at all. Although if you ask my wife, she's very interested in those kind of podcasts.
And me.
And you too. Yeah. So I mean, there's an audience for everything, and everybody has a podcast. And I've been asked to do a podcast by a lot of people, but I always go back to the issue where, hey, everybody does a podcast. What am I going to do? What can I bring to the table that's unique, that's different, that's something else that nobody else brings to the table? And I after thinking about it for years, I think I've finally come up with something that will work. I hope it's interesting to people, and we're gonna cover different topics. Hopefully there'll be something for everybody. So we're not just doing a gaming podcast. We're not just doing a it's not going to be very niche. We're going to hit a lot of topics. Gigsplained was supposed to be a series of videos where it's a bunch of explainer videos. Well, we're going to turn it into a podcast now. So we're gonna try to explain difficult topics in a way that makes sense to you, the listener. And hopefully we do it well. Hopefully we make it interesting. And hopefully you enjoy it. So that's sort of the purpose of the podcast. Now, the format, this is all pre-recorded. We're going to edit it. We're obviously going to make mistakes. So hence the edited podcast. We're not going to do video right away. We're just going to do audio. It's simpler that way till we get our legs underneath us. But eventually we will do video, and we'll just kind of take it from there. We'll just kind of build as we go. In terms of planning for the future, I wrote down some ideas for episodes, and I'll just go over the topics that we're planning to cover. That we're going to talk about YouTube and the realities thereof. Making of a YouTube channel. Being as I've been working on YouTube videos since 2018. That's 6 years now. I may have something to say about that. My primary business is video security, alarm systems, access control. So we'll have a podcast about physical security, some of the things that it takes, some of the secrets about being in the business, and what to look out for if you're hiring a security contractor, that type of thing. Something that's near and dear to my heart is user interface and user experience design. That's UI UX is how it's abbreviated. We're going to talk about ease of use in software development and how that I would approach that, and how I have approached that in some of the software that I've developed over the years. One of the things that we're really excited about is the big one is growing up gaming. And there's a lot of gaming podcasts out there, but I haven't heard a lot of discussion. Maybe some people who follow more gaming YouTubers and things like that haven't really had a discussion about what it's like to have grown up around in different experiences. As I talk to other gamers, their experience growing up with video games is different, vastly different from mine. Especially the younger you get, the more video games are just sort of a part of your life. And we'll kind of dive into that a little more. We may even have a special guest that for that podcast. We're working on that. Maybe a couple of special guests. We'll see. But we may go over in more detail some of your questions on writing tech and phones and that type of thing. We'll talk about Linux gaming and what it takes to effectively do that, and some of the software and the processes and things that are involved with that. You'd be surprised at how much you can run in Linux. There's literally one game I play currently, and I just recently got into it, that I can't play in Linux. Everything else I play in Linux. So that'll be. We'll do that one, and we'll also talk about what ain't AI. So in other words, what AI is and what AI ain't. So
Also, like, how my library teacher did that one time in class.
how AI ain't.
Well, like how like what AI is and what AI isn't, but like, yeah.
But we'll also talk to, and we'll also talk about other more philosophical questions like how to tell, like if you've ever argued on Facebook, how do you tell that you're on the right side of the argument? A lot of people don't give that much thought, and it's there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of things that really don't get covered or doesn't get covered in other podcasts. And for example, I listen to like Adam Conover's podcast, Factually. He goes over. He is so good. He's good. Yeah, whether or not you like the guy or not, I know my brother doesn't like Adam Conover for some reason. I'm not sure why, but whatever. It's fine. Adam Conover goes over a lot of things in vast detail, but there's, and he covers some of those topics. And the one thing I don't want to get into is politics, because there are millions of political podcasts, and even some that aren't political that are still get politicized. And I just want to stay out of religion. I want to stay out of politics, but there are some topics that we might cover that may touch on it a little bit. This is not going to be, we're not going to get into politics. So if you're looking for that kind of a podcast, this isn't going to be it. But let me turn it over for a few minutes, and Serenity, why don't you talk about yourself and tell people who you are and how old you are and what you like to do and your interests and things like that. So.
Okay. Well, I'm Serenity. I'm 13. I'm turning 14 soon.
That's always important for somebody who's almost a certain age. So.
Yeah.
To round up.
Yeah.
So you're gonna round up the birthday.
I have a TikTok account, and
do you want to tell people what it is?
My @ is at Maria the FNAF fan. There's no second F between FNAF and fan, cause autocorrect. Yeah, I like drawing and singing.
Drawing and singing. What do you like to draw?
Random people or random characters and eyes.
I think your little sister drew a green alien cat.
Oh, that was from a Roblox game.
Oh, was it from Roblox?
Yeah. Wait, no. That was from Poppy Playtime, a horror game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, there's some. This is where the other. I wanted to do. I wanted to have another point of view. I've done everything for the last, I don't know, 20 years on my own. I have run businesses on my own. I have done, and there are more stories to that, but I've run businesses on my own. Every time I've developed software, I've done it on my own. Every time I've had a new idea, I've had to do it on my own. Every time it's just, I was not going to do this podcast without another point of view. It can't just me be talking for 45 minutes and say, because I don't even want to hear me talk for 45 minutes. I do that in the videos. It's because I do the videos on my own too. So I only have so much time during the day, and I'm going to do a lot of this largely on my own as well. But the real issue is with there's nobody to bounce ideas off of. There's nothing to keep, no one to keep the pace going. If it's just me talking into a microphone, that just isn't going to work. And I don't have enough people that I know that I could get to do a guest spot, and I don't want to rely on other people's schedules in order to get this podcast out. So, nothing against other people. People have their own lives and they're busy on their own, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. But I'd like to be able to get. We're going to have some guests, but it's going to be maybe a quarter of the time. Maybe once a month we'll have a guest on, that type of thing. And so I wanted to have somebody else come in and have provide a different point of view. And as you just heard, I mean, even from the gaming perspective, I don't play Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't play Roblox. I really don't play Fortnite except for the Lego part. That's the one game that I have. So spoiler alert for the gaming episode.
Oh my gosh.
I just play the Legos on Fortnite, and for the longest time I would never play Fortnite. I would never pick it up. But that one game, the Lego Fortnite Survival Challenge, whatever the heck it is, that's the one game I play, and I can only play it in Windows for reasons, and it's just, yeah. So, but she provides a different perspective. Not only she's what's the, you said it was Alpha?
What?
Generation Alpha?
Oh, what are we talking about?
Well, it's your Generation Alpha, right? Or is that?
I can't. Hold on.
Because I thought you were a Zoomer, but
What is a Zoomer?
that's what they called Gen Z now. They call them Zoomers. Yeah, you looked it up one time and said it was Generation Alpha.
Yeah, it's like Generation Alpha.
Yeah. So
like Gen Z to Generation Alpha.
So you're basically you were born after what, 2010 or something like that,
yeah.
or born 2010 now, or whatever. So yeah, so she's Generation Alpha, I guess, which was a whole new concept to me when she looked it up initially. I was like, what? So I thought she was a Zoomer, but apparently not. I'm Gen X, but I'm young. I'm what is it? I'm kind of middle Gen X, I guess. So I was born almost. And I'll talk about this on other podcasts too. I was born in 1976, but it was. But it's this weird, and maybe other people who were born in 1976 might have the same experience. But you sort of remember the things that boomers talk about, and have some of the same experiences that boomers talk about, and but you also have the experiences that the millennials had at the same time. And it's sort of this weird thing where I've seen the things evolve and grow and change and whatever over time. I mean, everybody has in their life, but between the time I was born and now, it's like, I don't know, it's just something about the time, that time is just, when you look back on it, it's kind of weird. It's kind of the thing. If I would have been born earlier, I wouldn't be where I am, and if I would have been born later, I wouldn't have been. I would be more like a millennial than I would a boomer. So it's kind of this weird place I inhabit, I guess, in the cosmos, if we want to get real woo about it. So, and I mean, we're talking like I remember playing vinyl records on a little record player, and I remember vinyl records going out of style and disappearing from stores, and then them coming back. And I'm one of those people that go, why are records coming back? They are bad. They don't. You play a record once. When you go to play it again, it will never sound the same. Yeah. Ever. It changes every time you play it. I know this because I played records like that. I remember playing a record and it sounding really good, and I play it again, and I play it, 6 more times, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And eventually it's all scratchy and crap, and no. Like, no. Serenity, we were talking the other day, I said, I bet you don't even know what a cassette tape is. And she went, what?
Shut up.
I was like, it was hilarious. It was like,
I know what a record player is, and I know it would get worse.
Right,
because...
well, you know what record players are because they've come back. You've seen them in the stores. You've seen a record player in the store.
Yeah, but I've never heard them, but I knew that they would get worse because, guess what? My teacher taught me.
Oh, so your teacher's Gen X too.
No. I don't know how old she was.
Oh, well, anyway, it doesn't really matter. But, but see, the thing is you know what a record is and a record player.
Yeah. But
you don't know what a cassette, because they've come back. You don't know what a cassette tape is because they haven't come back yet.
I honestly forgot what it was because I saw one on Gumball.
Well, yeah, there's,
it's all over the TV.
Yeah. See, and she watches shows I don't watch either. So
yeah.
But it's interesting, we share a love of Star Trek.
Yes.
Yes, that's like, we really look forward to, it's... See, that's another thing that we sort of differ on in our experiences. So, like, boomers who love Star Trek, like your grandma and grandpa, they like Star Trek, but they experienced Star Trek when it was airing.
Yeah.
The original series was all they knew. Well, and then they experienced the movies, and then they went to, and they got into the Next Generation, and then kept going with it because they love Star Trek. Well, the way I experienced it is similar, but not the same. So I remember it being on TV on reruns. And one particular episode, the episode with Zefram Cochrane in it, and you watched it with me, the original series, before we watched First Contact, the movie. We watched the original series with Zefram Cochrane in it, where they took the shuttle and they got pulled off course, and they sort of crash landed on a planet, and there was Zefram Cochrane with this alien that basically he talked to telepathically. Do you remember that one?
No.
Okay, well, we may have to watch that one again.
Yeah.
But I know you watched it with me. I know because that was sort of a prerequisite to watching the way I presented it is that was a prerequisite to watching First Contact. So you knew who Zefram Cochrane was originally, and then in First Contact, of course, it's and I can't remember the actor's name off top of my head, but great actor, did a fantastic job. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But see, that was the first episode I ever remember of Star Trek. But see, that episode never got me into Star Trek. It was the movies. It was the Wrath of Khan. That was, and she's seen 6 of the original, or no, not 6, 5 of the 6 original cast movies. And so we did start with the Wrath of Khan, but the prerequisite to the Wrath of Khan is Space Seed, and where they introduce Khan, and so I didn't watch Space Seed first. I watched the Wrath of Khan first. Then I figured out, oh, there's this episode that's related to it, and that's kind of how I got into Star Trek.
So, like, you remember, like, one of the episodes from Lower Decks where Mariner says, like, yeah, oh, Khan is a big hottie or something like that, you know?
Oh yeah, like yeah, I don't remember that particular thing, but yeah, the Lower Decks is always making references to previous things. It's great, but so anyway, we kind of got off the rails there a little bit. So I got into Star Trek through the Wrath of Khan. What was it? When I started really getting into Star Trek 5 hadn't even come out. So like my parents got into it because it was on TV, and they experienced the original series and then just followed them through the movies in that way. Well, for me, I started with the movies and then kind of went back to the TV show and then and bounced around a little bit, and then we were watching the Star Trek The Next Generation as a family. And that was that was fun.
Yeah.
We all like Star Trek, but so we all watched Star Trek as a family. So when Lower Decks came out, that was your entry into the Star Trek world. So Lower Decks, for the people who don't like Star Trek, and this is who are still with us, Lower Decks is the animated version of Star Trek. That people call it a love letter to Star Trek, and they make references back to other things a lot. But it was both of my daughters' exposure to Star Trek. Initially, that's what got them into it. And they went, I said, look, you like Lower Decks. You realize that there's 50, 60 years worth of TV shows and movies and all of this content? And my 9-year-old went, oh. And Serenity went, oh, really? That's cool. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So we've all been watching Star Trek as a family. So we stuck with New Trek for a while. We did the movies and but we went from Lower Decks to Strange New Worlds through that crossover episode where Boimler and Mariner go to the Strange New Worlds timeline, and they're not animated anymore.
Yeah. So
that was fun, and so we treated that as a Lower Decks episode, and they went, well, let's have more of this. So we watched all of Strange New Worlds, and then we watched some of the movies and a few of the original series, and we've been making our way through Enterprise. Now we're about into the 3rd season of Enterprise, which I'm not looking forward to. The whole Star Trek conversation could be a whole other episode.
Yeah.
We just wasted 15 minutes of the listeners' time just talking about Star Trek.
Yeah.
I think.
But one of my friends keeps forgetting Boimler's name. It's like, the one with the purple hair and.
Yeah, Brad Boimler.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's Boimler, and you say I have memory problems.
Yeah, but you guys watch it all the time. You have
Okay.
time to memorize it.
Okay.
But in your defense, there is like 4 seasons of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she had 4 seasons to memorize his name.
Yeah.
So, but but yeah, that's just like, I don't know. Maybe we'll get into some fandom stuff too, because there's a lot there too. But once again, like, we're fans of stuff,
Yes.
but there's a lot of fandom podcasts. I mean, you go search Star Trek on YouTube. There are at least a half a dozen that get suggested to me all the time. You know, there's like Trek Core, and there's Trek Central, and there's that's just 2 of them. There's like a half a dozen of them that get suggested to me. Then there's all the fan movies. There's Axanar. There's the Star Trek Continues, which is fantastic, by the way. If we when we get to maybe once we get to the go through the original series, which hopefully April will appreciate a little more,
Yeah.
because it's colorful and it's, things. I don't know. It's a slower. There's all slower paced episodes, but after we watch the original series, Star Trek Continues is almost like this 4th season of Star Trek. It is done that well. It's really good, but once again, I don't know how we veered off course once again. Honestly, I ran out of stuff to introduce this channel about, so we're just kind of ad-libbing it here. So speaking of YouTube, and I'll probably go over this again. There was this huge push. You might notice if on our channel that we have other gig channels. We have Gigabytes Games, and we have Gigsplained, and we have Gigabyte Studios, and they all have different content. The issue is, and the reason why Gigsplain podcast is going on this channel and not like the Gigsplain channel, which it may find, if it finds an audience here, we might migrate over to that, or I don't know, we might archive the podcast over there. But I was thinking that I might do more videos, and I noticed that, and I'm sure YouTube is still doing this, but anything that doesn't fit with your content tends not to be promoted, because it confuses YouTube. It confuses the algorithm.
Yeah.
And so what you were supposed to do, you were supposed to cut up your content and spread it out over multiple channels. The problem with that is that then you're having to build more channels. See, there's going on 800 subscribers on this channel. And that's not nothing.
Yeah.
I remember when Morgan Just Games, a channel that I support, a lot of people know this.
Yes.
I remember when he was at like 500 subscribers. I was just starting out at the time, and he was able to quickly get to that 1,000 mark, and that was excellent. Because with YouTube, you have to get 1,000 subscribers in order to get any sort of revenue share. Well, here I'm at 6 years. I think Morgan Just Games is at 2,500 subscribers, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't want to diminish that, because that's cool. He doesn't do any sort of sponsorship deal. I mean, we kind of have this gentleman sponsorship deal where I kind of, every once in a while, I support him on Patreon, which we have a Patreon.
Oh, what?
We have a Patreon. Yeah, we do.
Dang.
It's Gigabytes Tech. If you look at if you find Gigabytes Tech on Patreon, it'll be that's our Patreon. But regardless, but we support him on Patreon. We're one of the first people to support him, and we also every once in a while during his live streams, I'll kick him like $50, and he's one of the only people that I do that for, and for good reason. And and of course I sent him a computer. I built him a computer and I didn't ask for anything. I just said, hey, just shout my name out every once in a while, and we'll call it even, you know.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a gentleman's sponsorship deal, I guess you could say, where it's not. There's nothing in writing. There's nothing. If he gets mad at me, he could just thumb his nose at me at any time. But I like his content, and I like what he does, and I like who he is, and I like he's a great guy, and so I support his channel, and so yeah, we sort of have this kind of gentleman's agreement for sponsorship, but and I appreciate it. But where was I going with that? I don't even remember. So YouTube. The content. So they wanted you to split up content, and I was thinking about going and making content. The problem with splitting up your content is that you have to build another channel so that all this matching content goes on this other channel. Well, for creators, that doesn't make any sense. If you've already started building a channel here, I mean, it works for like Colin Furs. And I don't even, I'm going to admit, I don't subscribe to him. I do not subscribe to Colin Furs. He's a huge channel. Lots of subscribers. Millions of subscribers. He's got his main channel where he does all kinds of things. But I didn't really get into him until he started doing a tunnel project. He started digging this, he dug a kind of like a man cave underneath his backyard, which was really cool. And then he started building on the tunnel, and you'll have to watch it. I'm not going to describe it, but Colin first started another channel. Now he's to 1 million subscribers already. The second channel. Well, great. He was a big channel to start with. He's got another channel that with content people are interested in, and he built another subscriber base. When you're talking about somebody like myself or Jamie Morgan, you can't really do that with your content. You don't. Yeah, you can. What is it? You have to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. You really need equal time. And here's my beef. This is my beef. Once again, this should all probably go on to the YouTube podcast. But my biggest beef with YouTube is like I have to get 1,000 subscribers without resorting to getting bots, attracting bots. Otherwise, my channel, they might reduce my subscriber count because they'll get rid of the bots. Or demonetize the channel because of bots. That's happened to other people too. But I need to be able to take one channel, just throw the content at the wall and see what sticks, see what people like, and I need to be able to market that content to my subscriber base. I can't go off and start a second channel or a third channel or a fourth channel or a whatever. It makes a little bit of sense when we're talking about like Gigabyte Studios has content that was designed for TV. And there's a jet airplane flying overhead, so that's great. That's going to be great for the podcast, isn't it?
Oh, yay.
Anyway, I apologize. Well, it's not my fault. Why should I apologize? Anyway, I apologize to the listeners. I got to hear that.
Yeah.
And it gets louder. And I'm looking at the waveform here, and it's just like a vacuum cleaner's running in the background. It sucks. That's why I say it's a vacuum cleaner. It's messing up all my waveforms. Look at that. Terrible. Yeah, go away plane. Keep flying away. There you go. That's better. Anyway. Oh my gosh. I think YouTube sent it over because they don't want me to say what I'm going to have to say. But the issue is I've got to throw all my content at the wall, see what sticks, see what people like. And I can't do that if I'm splitting myself up over and having to develop other channels. It just does not work. So maybe the algorithm needs to go and say, "Oh, you've only got 2 subscribers. Maybe I'll just promote your content anyway." You know, if it's something people like, then I'll keep promoting it, because that's what the algorithm does. If people like the content, it keeps going and gets promoted. But yeah, I mean, so there's got to be something here for the little guy, the niche guy. And Morgan Just Games, he's got a very unique, very niche product as well. But he does a lot. I look at his channel and he does a lot of things, produces a lot of content. He gets about the same views I do, generally speaking. Now I have avenues on Facebook that I have to promote. Like so, if I do C64 content, that's super popular. Especially when I promote it on Facebook, because then the Facebook people go, "Oh, hey, that's an interest I have. I can put a video up and say, hey, I've got this video about C64, and most of them will go, yeah, let's watch that. But that's the only way I have to target market anything. You go to, when I was trying to form Gigabooks Press, I started joining these writers groups. And I was going to do content based on writing and whatnot. That's why on the channel there's a few videos where it's distraction-free writing and things like that. Well, because it's kind of technology and it's software and it's building computers, so it does fit in with this channel. The problem is that when you go to a writing group, none of the writing groups want to let you post any of your personal content. If you have something to promote, there's the door. Get the hell out of our group. And I don't understand that. Why would you have a writing group with writers in it that have product that maybe would help writers? And I don't make a dime off of YouTube. Not one dime. I don't get, until I get to that 1,000 subscriber threshold, they will not give me any revenue share of the ads they run on my channel. So that's super frustrating. So I'm basically providing content, blood, sweat, and tears, and money to YouTube, so that they can make money off of my content.
And you get nothing.
I get nothing. I don't get anything. I get to produce stuff that I think is useful, and hopefully other people think is useful. And I that's it. That's what I get. I've got a video that's got something like 13 or 14,000 views on it. I haven't made a dime off of that. Nothing. So if you're thinking about going into YouTube, don't. That's That's the bottom line. If you think you're going to make a living, you're not. Because the people who are making money on YouTube, and a lot of money on YouTube, are the people who already had a lot of money to start off with.
Yeah.
And people keep going back to, oh, Mr. Beast came from nothing. He came from something. You know, he got on board early. He got on when YouTube was paying more money. He was able to build an audience off of that. He could roll that money back into more content that was more appealing to more people. And you know, that was he was in the right place at the right time, and I do not begrudge him his success, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not I have nothing bad to say about the guy. He deserves the success he's got, but he was at the right place at the right time. Nowadays, ad revenues are down, and you know that again, more stuff for more. This is why I've just gone on for what 15 minutes about this too, and it's like I could talk about this for an hour. But so we sort of quasi covered that topic too, but there's a lot more to say about it, and a lot more to making a channel, and what you do need and what you don't need, and things you got to keep in mind, and things you don't have to worry about, and that people sometimes say you have to worry about. And so yeah, and even after 6 years, I'm still working my way through all that mess. But at any rate, this introduction has probably gone on long enough. I hope that I'm not gonna. This is one of the few times I'm gonna ask people to like and subscribe and whatnot. You guys know how YouTube works. I don't need to tell you. I tell you to go and do the things you already know how to do. If you like the channel, fantastic. Throw us a subscription. If you really like the idea here, I would encourage you to go to Patreon and support the channel that way. We will take every dime we get off of any money that we raise on the channel. And so far, I think the channel has made $2.48. We got that from Amazon. So, we didn't even get that from YouTube. But every dime we raise will go back into making content and to, inviting guests on the show, and just mainly supporting this podcast. We're going to try and do it every week. If we get a good audience, we'll do it more often. But that's really it in a nutshell. I mean, I'm going to try and keep producing good content. We're going to keep trying to produce a good podcast along with it. And so, for myself and a yawning Serenity over here, I've already bored her. So
no, I'm just. I yawn when I'm hungry or tired or bored.
So you need a sandwich, a nap, and some entertainment.
Yes.
Oh, that's how that works.
Yeah.
So, but so for myself and Serenity here, we will see you in the next one.
Yeah. Bye.